To the live. For everybody that is joining us, welcome back. We were off for a week, and we were off because I was in Spain. So, welcome back to everybody. As everybody joins us, we do these lives 3 times a week generally. We do it on Mondays, Wednesdays, and on Fridays. The point of these lives is to have kind of answer questions and for everybody to be able to participate and for you to send us live questions. So whenever we do these, we have a bunch of questions that I have that come in, and we will try to address them one by one. Having said that, let's get started. So today we have a sponsor for the live, and that is Quick Kit. And that's Frank Vanucci, and Frank's number. So if you're looking for cabinets, he's a great guy to call. So they have a bunch of shaker cabinets. They have a bunch of stuff that you may want as like slabs, if you want fusion slides. So they have a bunch of different options. The best part is these things are available and they can do quick delivery. Again, it's Frank with Quick Kits Cabinet Makeovers, and it's 847-738-4052. So it's also in the kind of the scroll below. We have the phone number, and they will be happy to earn your business and give you a great price. Having said that, let's get rolling. So the first question was that if a home requires a significant amount of work, do I need the city permission to start working? Where do I go to get those kinds of permits? After fixing, do I need another permission before I put in tenants? So basically, if you're buying a house and you have a significant amount of work, generally, you're probably going to need permits. So what I mean by that is this, that if you're doing electrical, if you're doing plumbing, if you're doing windows, right? If you're doing siding on the property, if you're doing roofing on the property, generally, you're going to need permits. For superficial stuff, generally, you are not required permits. Like if you're going to paint the house, right? And I said generally, because I'll give you guys an example. So if you take a place like Evergreen Park, if you take a place like Alliance, right? Guys, I beg you, do not touch the property. And I'm being sincere about it. Do not touch the property in those two towns before you get a permit, because like something like Evergreen Park, if you're an investor and you buy a property, you're going to have to get drawings. I know I said you're going to have to get architectural drawings, and you're going to say, well, Andrew, no, I'm going to get away with it. I promise you this one, that you are not going to get away with it. Here's the reason why. What happens is in Evergreen Park specifically, they have an ordinance that says every investor that buys a property needs to get architectural drawings. So especially if you're buying the property in a LLC name, they're going to target you and they're going to make you get those drawings. They have that in their ordinance. Even if you say, but Andrew, I'm not doing anything. I'm just painting the house. It's my house. I can paint it. I know what you're telling me. I'm just telling you the reality of that situation, that in Evergreen Park specifically, that's why I've named that particular town specifically, they are extremely, extremely draconian about getting architectural drawings. They cost about $1,800 to $2,000 to get architectural drawings. So it's not prohibitively expensive. And if you do that, they're pretty easy to work with. They're good people to work with. It's just that they're strict in terms of their drawings. So at some point, supposedly, this is the story, that there was a fire and they lost the drawings from when the properties were built. Supposedly, the town is supposed to have a copy. And so that's the deal. In Lyons, they are very, 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 very strict. So if you have a plumber park the truck, plumber's not doing any work. Let's just say there's a leak. He's just stopping the leak, right? I mean, or you just have him come and check pressure test the thing. In any other town, that's perfectly fine. Here, they're going to issue you a ticket. I'm talking about Lyons specifically, right? So some of these towns are quirky, but generally, this is a general rule of thumb. To do paint in the house, you don't need a permit. To replace carpet, you're going to put hardwood floors, you're going to put LVP, you don't need a permit. To do light work, you don't need a permit. Some towns don't even require permits if you're going to basically change cabinets, right? Generally, most towns don't require permits if you're going to do countertops only, right? Countertops, vanity, toilets, they don't require that. But this is town specific, right? So now I'm not going to say that everybody must pull a permit every single time. You be the judge. The right way to do it is technically you have to pull a permit. Now, if you are in a non-incorporated area, say Northbrook non-incorporated or DuPage non-incorporated, then if you're going to do extensive work, I would suggest you go to the county and you have to pull a county permit. Cook County permits, I will tell you, they're a pain. Lake County permits, Lake County, not Lake, I'm talking about the county permits. They can be a little bit of a pain, but a lot of times, I'm not saying I've done it, but I know of people, they'll rehab a property and never pull a single permit if it's in a unincorporated area. So that's kind of how it is. So that's where do you go to get the permission? Whatever town you're in, whatever township that you're in, you go. So let's just say you're in Evergreen Park. You call Evergreen Park and you call their oh my God, I'm just not business development. I'm drawing a complete blank right now. They're just call them and ask for where do I get permits, and they'll direct you to the office. I'm just completely recalling the name of the office that it's called. Basically, there's a section for permitting, and I'm sorry. Building department, not business development, building department. That's what it is. So you call the building department and they will issue you the permits. Like same thing, if you're in Cicero, right? Please don't try to do anything in Cicero without a permit. I mean, your life will be absolutely miserable. And especially if you're buying a property, they've probably done a pre-sale inspection. Calumet City is the same way. So some of these cities are really tough. So please don't go and start doing things. You are going to end yourself up in a heap of trouble. Bellwood, right? I'm just telling you the ones that are the more difficult ones to work with. And if you do the work, and you mess up and you did not pull a permit, just go over there and address it right away. Don't ignore it because you're going to make it a bigger issue. Nobody's putting you in jail. Nothing is happening. They'll just fine you, give you a little bit of a hard time. Just say, oh, I'm so sorry. The contractor messed up. I apologize. Again, I apologize. And then go straighten it out with the city, right? You wouldn't be the first one to get caught. We wouldn't be the first one to get caught. So this is not the end of the world, but specifically if you are in Evergreen Park, if you're in Calumet City, if you are in Lyons, if you are in Bellwood, those are the ones I can think off the top of my head. We've gotten caught before with Wheeling. They were pretty nice. We went, apologized. The contractor did the work. The same guy did the work in Lake Zurich. They're very nice to deal with. We gave them what they needed, and it's fine. I'm dealing with the issue right now in Des Plaines. We didn't do much work to the property. We kind of opened up the door between the kitchen and the living room, and we expanded the opening. That's all we did. Changed the cabinets, painted the house, but they want us to do permits for them. So just understand that you're well advised to do it by the book. If you don't, then you just have to deal with the consequences. And yes, we have gotten caught a few times where we should have done it a certain way. We didn't. But I would always advise you, always, and we always use this. We always use a licensed electrician and a licensed plumber, because those are the two things important. You don't want your plumbing to go wrong, and you certainly do not want the house to burn down. So you want to use a licensed person. That way the liability goes off of you. If you do everything with a permit, then the liability is off your head in case something does happen. So that's important for that reason. The next question was that I'm buying a property, and I'm buying a property for $150,000, or the seller is asking $150,000 for the property, and I think the value of this particular property is $360,000. Is this a good deal, right? So if the seller basically is, what was the number? This guy has it. So if you're buying the property, right? If you're basically buying a property, this person basically what they're trying to find out is, are they making a good deal on this property or not? So there's a simple formula that we always teach, and this formula works. Doesn't matter if you are in Chicago, if you're in Indiana, if you're in Atlanta, if you're anywhere it is, right? First, number one, figure out what is the ARV for the property. ARV meaning after repair value. So how do you determine after repair value, right? There's a couple of ways of doing it. Number one, if you have access to an agent, the agent can help you, but whatever the agent says, right, please make sure you get a realistic value. Don't get a value from the agent that is like way inflated. And even if you're buying a property, let's say you found a property that is off market, right, that is not listed, right? So recently, I bought a property in Lindenhurst, which is up north, right? Far north suburbs. So am I familiar with the market? Kind of. Do I know the comps? Kinda, I know the comps. So first thing I did was I looked in Zillow, right? What are the other properties that have sold in 1 mile of that property? And then I started reducing it to half a mile. And then what are the closest properties that have sold that are similar? May not be exact same, but similar. So this property happens to be a 4-bedroom. And by the time we're all done with it, it's going to be a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, big, huge ranch. So I called a couple of agents that do a lot of business there. You can find the agents that do business locally. And I'm like, hey, listen, if I was to list the property with you, and just use this terminology, if I was to list a property with you, I'm a real estate investor, and a lot of times we like to list the property with local agents. So I'm talking to a couple of agents to figure out who I want to list the property with. It's going to be a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, completely redone, new plumbing, new electrical, new HVAC, new windows. It's going to be in mint condition. What would you say a reasonable number, so I can get the property sold quickly, right? This is if you're doing a flip. So that's what I would say. Even if you're an agent, right? So now I don't have my license, but all these years I had a license. There's nothing wrong to go and build that relationship with a agent and basically get that information for them. An agent wants to earn your business. If they're really good, give them the business when you go to list the property, right? I've listed properties a lot of times before, even when I was an agent, where I was not the listing agent, right? Because I wanted to get the property sold. It was in an area where this particular agent did a lot of business. I listed properties with Frank Montreux, where even though I had a real estate license. So there's nothing wrong with that, right? And you want to do that. You want to get a realistic idea of what is the price. So in this particular case, he said, well, I think it's about 360 or so. I don't believe the property is worth 360 in this particular case. I believe the property is going to be worth somewhere around 300. So whoever gave him the number of 360, that number is entirely too high. So you take the number of 300, in this case, that's the average after repair value. You take 300, you multiply that number by 0.7. So that's going to be $210,000 is going to be basically 0.7, which is 70% of that number. And then out of that 70%, we're going to be subtracting amount of work. So this person did a great job sending me a bunch of the pictures when they asked this question. And they're like, well, what do you think it's going to cost to fix this property? So in my opinion, this is my opinion. I have not seen the property in person, but this is just my opinion. Based on the pictures, I think you should be planning a minimum of $70,000 to rehab this particular property. So that's my personal opinion, assuming everything else is okay with the property. So if I take 210, right, and I take $70,000 out of it, what does that give me? They should be paying about $140,000 for this property. About. Now, can you pay 142, 145? Sure. But I think at 160, this person is going to be paying a little bit overpaying for the property. Now, I haven't seen it. If there's something that I'm missing, because I have not seen the property, I'm basing it on all the details that I have. But I think the back-end value is somewhere around 300. Is it possible 310 or so in February? Yes. So, but realistically, this person should not be paying more than 145 to 147 for this property. So for you, sir, please go back and renegotiate your number a little bit down. Around 145, even 147, you will be perfectly fine. But the number you were expecting of $50,000 on your rehab, I think you're being a little bit light on that particular rehab. So make sure you do not get yourself into hot water, because if you pay 160 something for the property and then you're predicting a $50,000 rehab, I think you're going to be a bit shocked, because your rehab number is going to come in higher. So hopefully that helps. The next question was, well, the $1 million question, and that is, Andrew, what about the interest rate? Interest rates are high. What do you think is going to happen next year? I don't know. Right? I wish I knew. Nobody knows. And anybody who says they know, they're crazy. Right? They may be right, but they may be wrong. Right? We don't know. Nobody knows. So it's basically, I still think, as long as there's a lot of money still in the marketplace, right? Simple things happen, guys. We were in Corona. They basically pumped too much money in the marketplace. That basically, we had inflation. To take away the inflation, the place they're basically hitting us is with high interest rates, because they want to take the inflation numbers down. The core inflation, whatever they call it, they want to take those numbers down. Hence, they're basically increasing. They keep increasing the interest rates, right? That's really what is going on at this point. And until that happens, the interest rate, I don't think next year are suddenly going to go down to 5%, and suddenly not for investment properties. Over time, will it go down? Yes, I think it will go down, but not so soon. I think the interest rates we have right now are here to stay still for a little while, unless they really, really, really see the economy come to a stall. Right now, still, it is not at a stall. Yes, are we at a place where people are feeling the pinch? Of course, homeowners are feeling the pinch. They don't want to sell because they have locked in interest rates. Why would they, right? If I have a locked in interest rate at 3.2%, generally I'm like, hey, I'm not going to sell the property. A lot of times I'm going to say, hey, even if I buy a property, I may just keep this property. Right? I don't want to sell it because I have such a good interest rate. So a lot of inventory is not hitting the market because of that. Because if I want to upgrade, then my interest payments on the property is going to be higher. Like I was looking at a property, and if I had bought this property when the interest payments were low, my payment on the property would have been somewhere around $10,000 a month. Right? That would have been the monthly payment of the house. But at this point, because of the change in rates, now on the same property, my payment would be somewhere around 12.8, so about $12,800 a month, right? And I don't need to buy the property that badly. It is what it is, so it's no big deal, right? I'm not buying. But that sort of thing is happening, especially in a market like the D market is suffering. B and C markets and B markets have been pretty solid, actually, because there's so low inventory. Even C markets, some parts of Chicago that we would call solid C markets, the number of homes that are available is low. Hence, properties are still moving. But if you take some of the pockets, you take Harvey's, the Daltons, some of the other pockets, the property prices have come down. And the property prices have come down because the interest rate has gone up, right? So that sort of thing is happening. So I don't know. And I know on TV, the pundits always have their opinion about how they somehow can predict when the interest rates are going to come down. Nobody knows when the interest rates will come down. The Fed themselves don't know, right? They base it on the current economic conditions, and then they try to balance the best. But our politicians are the ones who put us in this position. They were handing out free money, and this was bound to happen. So if you don't think this was going to happen, there's something wrong with you. Maybe you believe in free lunch, and there's no such thing. So that's kind of what it is. The next part of it is, what should we know regarding BRRRR, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat, or flips, to townhouse and condos. What should we know regarding BRRRR or flips to condos, especially in areas of pre-foreclosure properties? So I'm not quite sure what exactly this person is asking. It's Laura saying, what should we know regarding BRRRR or flips to townhouses and condos? Okay, so a couple things that I think I'm interpreting this question correctly. At least I'm trying. So if you're going to BRRRR a property, meaning you're going to basically rent out a property, right? The first thing you have to check, especially if it's a townhouse, especially if it's a condo, right? That now, if it's a duplex, meaning you don't have any association. If you don't have any association, you can do what you want, right? But if you do have a association, and at that point, what you have to think about is you have to think about, hey, does the association allow you to rent out the property, right? If the association does not allow you to rent out the property, then you're not going to be able to rent it. So you're not going to be able to do BRRRR, right? So that's one thing that you have to be aware of, or you have to be aware of some of the weird grandfather rules. Sometimes some associations have some weird grandfathering rules in them, and that can have an impact. Sometimes they'll have two buildings. They allow rentals in one building. They won't allow it in a different building, right? I happen to live in Oak Brook in a condo building, and in that building, they have some weird rules that if your condo is vacant for a year, then you can go ahead and rent it out. Right? It's just a weird, bizarre rule, but it is what it is. So you have to be aware of that. Now, from flip perspective, if you're flipping a townhouse or a condo, it's pretty good. As long as there's lots of movement and as long as your numbers are good, you don't have to worry about it, right? There's nothing that you have to worry about as long as you're buying the property at the right number and that there is a lot of movement in that particular area, then you can basically flip the property. Now, this person is asking, especially in areas of pre-foreclosure. So here's something to think about. Now, if you have a condo or if you have a townhome, right? So generally, if it's in an A area, you're not going to have any issues. If it's in a B area, generally, you're not going to have any issues, like flipping a property or anything like that. But if you're in a C area, right now, if I'm in a C area and I'm going to buy a condo and it seems cheap, but there are a lot of pre-foreclosures in that particular area, especially C and D areas, I would be careful. I'll give you guys an example. So recently a property came up, it's a condo property, and I could have purchased this particular property for literally $47,000, $47,000, right, for a 2-bedroom condo. And this is an area which is a C area by my analysis, a C area. And I passed on a condo, and one of the person that is buying the condo, they're like, "Oh my God, Andrew, you passed on this condo. This makes no sense. You messed up." I'm like, that's possible. Is it possible that I didn't see a deal and they see a deal? It's possible. But here's my question to you. The back end value on this particular property is about, I'm going to say about 112 to maybe 115 max. That's the back end value on this property. The rehab on the property is going to be about $27,000. The ceilings have fallen in. There's quite a bit of rehab. There's quite a bit of damage to this particular property. Now, it's only a 2-bedroom property, right? So it's not like it's a big property. The problem is this in this particular building, right? That the association fees in the building are $600. Now, think about this, right? That $600 a month in just association fees. So for somebody who is, unless you're in a different area, and I'll give you guys an example of that also. So $600 in this particular area, the taxes on the condo are pretty high. For a condo, it's a pretty high tax bill. So basically, effectively, a month, you're making a $900 payment just between taxes and association, right? And the association is not a very well-managed association, and they have a lot of assessments that they're thinking about putting in place because they need some major upgrades that they need to make in this particular association. And so I passed because could it be possible that it may be it was a good deal? It was a good deal, meaning it was available cheap, right? The problem is this: when you really do the numbers for a rental don't work, right? They're not that exciting, and the tenant pool that I would get over there is not a tenant pool that I want. The second thing is that as far as the flip is concerned, can this person basically do a rehab on this property? Yeah, they can get the rehab done. Right? Let's just say they get the rehab done for $30,000. They ended up buying this particular property for 45. They get the rehab done for another 30,000. So now they're in the deal for about 75,000 bucks, right? Not a bad deal. It's pretty good, because if you can sell the property, assuming they can sell the property for, let's say 120. I'm being generous, right? Let's say 120. After selling costs, this, that, everything else, can they make about 25, 30,000 bucks? Yes, they can make that. The problem is this. If you ask me, if they're going to make that, I will say 95% of the odds are they're not going to. And the reason they're not going to is because the typical buyer that's buying in that area is an FHA buyer, right? And an FHA buyer, 3.5% down, they're going to have an issue basically buying in that particular area, because the association fees are so high, the taxes relatively are high, and they're not going to be able to really afford the payments on this particular property, for the general reason that most people who are buying over there are buying FHA. And the problem is this: today, more than half of that particular property is rented out to tenants, and these are not market tenants. These are tenants that are basically voucher tenants. And so what has happened is these people don't care. The buildings aren't properly maintained. The crime in general in that area is a little bit high. So even though on the face value, it seems like an incredible deal, to me, it is not a deal. It is a complete donkey as far as I'm concerned. But I wish the best to the people who bought this particular property. They feel that they're going to make 30,000 bucks. I wish them nothing but the best, but I don't believe it's happening. I want to remind you guys again, talk to Frank. Frank is somebody from Quick Kits. So if you're looking for cabinets, if you're looking for shaker style cabinets, if you're looking for cabinets that are either fusion, slab, so they have a bunch of variety, and they're willing to offer you some really incredible prices. They'd love to earn your business. On the screen, you can get their phone number. It's 847-738-4052. 847-738-4052. So that's the number, so that you can reach Frank and hopefully give him some business. He'd love to earn your business. 847-738-4052. Okay, let's look at the next question. So I know you have access to bank-owned properties and pre-foreclosures, but I am in Winnebago County. I've been a realtor. I've been to the realtors and courthouse and nothing. Should I do a ListSource, FreedomSoft, or are there another one you can suggest I begin with in terms of getting a list? So this is H. Lee Carter. So H. Lee Carter, do me a favor. Contact Jennifer. She's the one who organizes all these questions. And if I have access to Winnebago County, we will send you a list. Just because you sent us a good question, we will send you a list of pre-foreclosures and bank-owned properties. So I will check if it is. I believe I do have access to it. I don't promise you, because I know we have obviously Cook County, Lake County, DuPage County, McHenry County, Will, Kane. I don't know Winnebago off the top of my head. I believe we do. And if we do, I promise you, we will provide it for you. Just for you being one of the participants, we will provide it for you. So just reach out to Jennifer. And then if not, I will give you a couple places where you can go and you can get that list, or at least you can inquire regarding getting the list. I would not go to ListSource because it's prohibitively expensive. And FreedomSoft, I don't know if FreedomSoft offers that. They may offer that. I know they're a good lead management tool. I'm not sure if they sell the leads. That I do not know, or if they sell a list. ListSource is a good place to go. It's just that I think their leads are super expensive. So that's the only reason. Is it a good list? I'm sure it's a good list, but that's the only reason I'm discouraging you. And I'll be happy to send you some sources if for some reason I don't have that list, but I do believe we have the list. last question was from somebody from Mastery, and that is, are many of you experiencing long delays when refinancing your property to pay off your private money lender? It seems lenders are requiring six month seasoning on commercial loans. Does anybody know of lenders that will still accept 3 to 4 month seasoning? So this is Shiznit, and I would check with Jesse and see if lenders will do less than 6 month seasoning. I know they will do it on rate and term refis. They will let you do a 90-day seasoning only. You don't have to do 6 month seasoning. But if the property is less than, if you're wanting to do a cash out refi, then you're going to have to do 6 month seasoning. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, I want to promote Frank from Quick Kits. Give him some business, guys. He's somebody who would love to earn your business. Looks like they have some really good prices on cabinets. 847-738-4052. Having said that, we will see you on Friday.